Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. Have an amazing show for everybody today. What do we have, Krystal?
Indeed we do. So mass layoffs have begun. We've got the list of large companies that are laying off thousands of workers. The Fed also announced that they're going to be doing another rate cut, but future rate cuts are uncertain. So a lot to dig into there in terms of economics. We're also getting a look at the health insurance premium rates for next year. And boy, oh boy, does not look good for literally anyone. We've got some interesting revelations with regard to the investigation into Charlie Kirk's murder assassination. So Kash Patel pissed off at Joe Kent because Joe Kent was looking at some of the evidence and exploring potential outside ties, including potential foreign national ties. So we're going to take a look at that. Also some good news. A man who had been arrested for posting a Charlie Kirk meme has been released after public pressure and some local reporting. So some good news there, but he did spend a month in prison plus before he was released. Absolute insane situation. We're going to do a little bit of a dive into the races that are happening, the electoral races that are happening next week. We got New Jersey, we got Virginia. We, of course, have the New York City mayoral race. We've got some brand new polling out this morning that is very interesting. So you definitely want to stay tuned for that. We're also taking a look at J.D. Vance confronted over Israel at a TPUSA event, and Cenk Uygur threatened with deportation by Stephen Miller's wife, Katie Miller, live on Piers Morgan. So that's an interesting moment.
I'm saving perhaps one of the most sexist public comments all
I might be there with you.
I think you will be there with me. I think even the most radical feminists will be there with me. Thank you to everyone that's been subscribing, breakingpoints.com for our premium membership. We deeply appreciate it. By the way, while we're on that, we do have a new promotional. Let's go and put this up here on the screen. This is holiday merch. It's right around the season, so it's 20% off for our Breaking Points members. We've got our sweater. It's back, our Christmas sweater, which of course sold out last year, and the Breaking Point socks. I can attest, I wear these socks all the time. I've worn them all over the world. They're my go-to winter travel socks. I absolutely love them. I'm really not chilling. Like I didn't know if they were going to be good or not, and I got them. I was like, these are actually incredible. But we should indeed thank, because remember, it is made in America and it is union made, which is of course something we're very committed to here. And just so you all know, we're not making a ton of money off these things. It's purely for fun. So 20% off promo, and it will be available to our premium subscribers.
Yeah, not saying they're cheap, but you know, it costs if you're going to make them in America.
Yeah, if you want to make something
union made. Yeah, so look in your inbox, premium members, you'll get the discount code, and then you can pick up your Christmas holiday merch for 20%.
That's exactly right. No Temu shopping over here.
That's
all right.
right.
No Temu. No Temu socks. These are actually high quality socks that you can wear anywhere. And I've gotten organic compliments about them. People who didn't even know who I was. They're like, those are nice socks. Those are nice socks. The shoe salesman, which I guess he's incentivized to say, he's like, hey, these are pretty nice socks that you have over here. Okay. With all that, please hit subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you can't afford a membership, no worries. Also, if you're listening to this on a podcast, just please send this episode or any episode, your favorite, to a friend, or rate us 5 stars. It really helps other people find the show. But let's go ahead and start, as you said, Krystal, with the economy. There is a lot going on here in terms of the Federal Reserve. Let's put this up here on the screen. Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, lowered interest rates for the second meeting so far, but it was not a lot, and he also cast doubt on expectations of a further rate cut later this year. This sent markets into a little bit of turmoil immediately after. He uttered the phrase, quote, far from it, whenever he was asked specifically about market expectations from a rate cut of the next gathering in December. This was a little bit of a surprise, erasing some of the gains on the day. It wasn't a crash or anything like that. But the point is that Powell's comments, as they write, underscore the easiest part of unwinding the central bank's aggressive rate increases might be over, as he navigates a committee with what is identified as a growing chorus of officials who are also wondering whether rate cuts are even warranted. All of this results entirely on the back of inflation, but also the data blackout. So this is really important for people to understand. The data blackout because of the government shutdown. So right now, the immense amount of data gathered by BLS and others from the federal government has now been shut down, 25, 26 days, something like that. So they're actually kind of flying blind. That's part of the reason why he said in December, I genuinely don't know. In addition to tariff policy is all over the map. President Trump and President Xi met this this evening in South Korea recently for some hour-and-a-half meeting. They did announce a reduction in the overall number of China tariffs. Still waiting for some market reaction. Things look flat right now. In terms of the futures, it was relatively expected.
It was probably priced in. Yeah.
It was effectively, they kind of were telegraphing some of that. We'll get to that in the NVIDIA chapter. But the whole point really around all of this is precarity, lack of data, flying a bit blind. And when you combine it with some of the job data, things are not looking particularly good right now.
Yeah, let's put A2 up on the screen. Speaking of that, we covered earlier in the week some of the Amazon and the UPS layoffs. We can add to that list. Just look at this. UPS, 48,000 employees. Amazon, up to 30K. Intel, 24K. Nestle, 16. Accenture, 11. Ford, 11. Novo Nordisk, 9,000. Microsoft, 7,000. PwC, 5,600. Salesforce, 4,000. Paramount, 2,000. Target, 1,800. Kroger, 1,000. Applied Materials, 1,444. Meta, 600. We can go to the next one. GM is also announcing thousands of layoffs. This is specifically in their electric vehicle plants, which, makes some sense since we've been on again, off again with the push towards electric vehicles. Obviously, the Biden administration was in favor, set up some incentives both for consumers and also for automakers to move in that direction. Trump administration running 180 degrees in the other direction. So GM now laying off 3,300 of their workers associated with EVs. And one of the reasons is that the Wall Street rewards, all their stock prices surge when they can show that they're able to get rid of human beings. Another piece is that you have AI coming in, and especially with white collar jobs, they're thinking, okay, well, we can push some of our, spreadsheet jockeying and analysis and some of that basic level work. We can push that onto AI and have fewer people actually at the organization. As people leave, we also are not going to rehire. And then the other component here is that you have a massive amount of uncertainty because of because of a variety of reasons, but one of them certainly being the erratic nature of this presidency and never knowing what the hell this man is going to do next. So that doesn't exactly inspire confidence if you are a business owner, something we can attest to as well in the future and in making large scale investments or certainly building out your workforce. So for all of those reasons, you have companies not only putting a pause on hiring, but actively laying off thousands of workers at this point in what appears to be a very troubling trend.
Yes, that's right. Let's go ahead and please put A5 on the screen. This is from the Wall Street Journal. Tens of thousands of white-collar jobs are now disappearing as AI starts to bite. What they say is, and they point to some of the job losses that we already covered in our last show from Amazon, from UPS. However, they highlight a few that I actually wasn't even necessarily aware about. Target cutting some 1,800 jobs. They also said white-collar workers from companies like Rivian, Molson Coors, Booz Allen Hamilton, General Motors, and others all receiving pink slips just ahead of the holidays, adding up to absolutely tens of thousands of jobs now so far. Exactly as you said, a lot of this is just like grunt work and administrative cost, HR, legal, etc. Behind the waves, they say, is the embrace of artificial intelligence. Executives now hoping they can handle more of that work than the well-compensated white-collar employees. Investors have pushed the C-suite to work more efficiently with fewer employees. Altogether, the factors are remaking what office work looks like in the United States, leaving managers that remain with more workers to supervise, less time to meet with them, while saddling the employees fortunate enough to have jobs with much heavier workload. So you're going to work more money or more hours for the same amount of pay.
Yeah, not more money.
Not great. Well, somebody's making more money. And
the people at the
CEO
top.
And the investors.
Stoller made a good point about that. He was like, well, they're claiming all of this, increase in productivity and decrease in costs from AI, but you're not seeing them lower prices now, are you? No, of course not. And there was an interesting statistic here in this Wall Street Journal piece. They say the college class of 2025 submitted more job applications than the class of 2024, so put in more work into the job search while receiving a smaller number of offers, according to the National Association of Colleges and Employers. So they're having to send out more applications and they're getting fewer job offers. We continue to see that unemployment rate for new college grads tick up. Again, there's a variety of reasons, but AI is certainly one of them. As companies, look, the entry-level work is exactly the sort of thing that you could potentially use AI. And even companies, I think, that haven't fully figured out how to incorporate AI in a way that does save labor and, makes their employees more productive such that they don't need as many human beings. They anticipate being able to do that, and they want to get the Wall Street rewards from a big headline saying that they're laying off a bunch of workers because, our society is structured such that that sort of thing is rewarded, actually.
Yeah, they highlight a really sad case here. A 33-year-old guy. So this guy is exactly the same age as me. He has 3 children. He has spent 10 months looking for work. He's a technologist, has requisite experience. They say that he applied to over 1,000 jobs to make ends meet, covering food, gas, utilities. He emptied his 401k, sold stocks, crypto, and the Pokemon cards he collected with his son. His home was put into foreclosure when he couldn't make the mortgage payment. This summer, a friend referred him now to a dealership job. He commutes 2 hours or more each day, hustles on the floor from the stores 8:30 to 9. On Tuesday, he is weighing whether to drive in on his day off. So a 33-year-old father of 3, basically bankrupt. By the way, in New Braunfels, Texas. No disrespect to New Braunfels. I like it there. It's a nice place, but it's not exactly a very high cost of living area. This is a place where houses shouldn't be no more than a couple $100,000 for a reasonable house for a family of 4. So consider, what the mortgage payment and all of that would look like. It would be different stories living in a $2-3 million house, but that's not, anybody who's done anything particularly wrong. So if you're effectively bankrupt and you have at least a number of skills and you end up working a dealership sales job, I mean, that's rough. No disrespect to that job either. At all, but just shows you, that he's like, I have no work-life balance. I have 3 children. I have a 2-hour commute each way. Okay, I mean that's a nightmare scenario. It reminds me of, I forget, was this documentary about the GM plant that closed back in 2008, and the workers they're like, yeah, you have a job, but it's not here. You have to go somewhere else.
That's right.
Remember that? And they all had to go live in like housing together, like temporary housing together, and then try to commute back
and these
on
are
the
people
weekends.
Who are like, generational residents
like
of
union,
this area.
Exactly, right. And then their families just, boom, gone. The entire decimation of the town happened within a decade, and now it's almost been 2 decades at this point. I actually would like to go back and to check on some of those areas. I'd be willing to bet, that soul got basically sucked out of all of them. And they also, he says, they say in the piece about recruiting firms where they have seen, quote, a number of 40-year-olds are now surging in terms of people who have been let off. They can't keep up with the technology. It's outpacing their skill set, and they are now looking for jobs that are out there. So there's some 27 years, I think, technically, from retirement, right? So they still have 30 prime age working years almost ahead of them. That's really, really devastating. They highlight people genuinely across the income spectrum, across the skill spectrum, and across age, just to show you the way that this is all, coming together. And it's also being manifested not only in the job loss, but also in the higher prices for all of us through power, through data centers, through the amount of concentration in our stock markets. We've taken an entire bet on AI. If it fails, we're done. Like, we will have a full-on Great Recession.
Yeah,
I actually think it might be worse than 2008.
We're also done.
Yeah.
Seriously, this is the beginning, right? AI still really kind of sucks. And you're seeing these level of layoffs and joblessness skyrocketing for college grads, and them, filing 1,000 applications and getting no job offers, and 40-year-olds getting kicked out of their jobs and not being able to restart, and people unable to change career. Like, we are just at the beginning. You will never meet a more radicalized person than the person who did all the things, went to business school, took on all this debt, or went to law school, took on all this debt, and then there is nothing for them. Like, that is the reality now, and that is the accelerating future that these companies are aiming for. And what are we gonna do about this? I mean, genuinely, what are we gonna do about this? As I've said before, the best case scenario is that they never get beyond the phase they're at now of it kind of sucks and you can't really do all that much with it. And so there's some labor force disruption, but it's not cataclysmic. I don't know. The path that they're heading on, what they want to achieve, looks like it is a revolution from the top that they are trying to achieve. And I know that there will be a reaction from people who are looking at this landscape for themselves and their kids and I literally don't know what to do to survive now because there's no entry-level positions. Certain categories are eliminated completely. And it's not sector by sector. It's a lot of it is the jobs that we were all told, go into learn to code. That's the job of the future. Those are some of the first jobs that are going. So I don't know. It's pretty dire, and we can see, Republicans, this is maybe the least important storyline, but Republicans starting to take on water here, A4, on their economic handling because of this whole confluence of events. For the first time in quite a while, we have the Democrats taking the lead in the party better to keep the country prosperous. I doubt anyone has a whole lot of confidence in either party to really guide the ship and steer the course as we head into an incredibly uncertain era here. And like I said, I think it's just starting to set in for people what AI is actually intended to do, which is to replace every single one of you.
Let's think about the UPS story. Did you really hear about it anywhere? I mean, we covered it on this show. It was our A blog. Did you hear about it? I mean, it's 48,000 people who are in a industry where it's management and operations. Like a lot of these people, this is middle class, normal people. Mo probably did everything right. And they're out of a job ahead of the holidays, ahead of the busiest season of UPS. What is UPS telling the entire market? We don't need these people to function. We'll still be able to deliver all these packages on time. And maybe they can, but nobody even particularly cares about any of these. Like, did I see a major national politician or anybody actually come and speak out? Not really, not one, right? I mean, instead, everybody, I'm borrowing a little bit from Tucker's monologue because he mentioned this specifically. He recently did one about Venezuela, and he's like, I'm sorry, I don't care about Venezuela right now. In particular, Lindsey Graham was talking about how Venezuela supports Hezbollah or something like that as part of the reason why we need to overthrow. He's like, I'm sorry, like he's like, that is just something I don't care about right now. It's not an imminent threat. Like this is actually an unironic imminent threat to the very foundations of who we are. So it's really just concerning. And it's the politics, I think what it highlights, as you're talking about there about the GOP advantage on the economy is going away. That's probably a reflection of because they're in power right now. The reason it was high in 2023 is because Biden was.
They were out of power. Yeah,
exactly. So now, but even at the Democrats, like +4, it's not that high. It just shows you like nobody has any real vision or attention to the actual things that make society tick. It just seems like it's on autopilot. It's completely in the hands, we covered yesterday, of Sam Altman. Sam Altman literally gets to decide whether he's responsible enough to introduce mass AI pornography into the entire system. Sam Altman gets to decide, and OpenAI personally gets to decide whether they are responsible enough in their handling of mental health and of suicidal ideation. And it's completely amoral and also undemocratic. Like, no, that is singularly a subject, an issue, which should be entirely up to the people. If we decide ultimately that, yes, this is how they should handle it, I mean, I won't like it, but so be it. But we never got to weigh in on any of this. And I think that is the foundation of, you know, our economic relationship to labor since the post-1900 Gilded Age era, is we decided, no, it's actually ridiculous to say that these large companies get to run every facet of our life. We will take back democratic control through the one last thing that we have, which is the current government. And we see absolutely none of that. We just want them to let them do whatever they want. It's putting all of us in a tremendous amount of risk, especially with retirement, which we're about to get to with NVIDIA.
Look, guys, this is the real great replacement theory. Genuinely. I mean, the politicians in charge right now are funneling money and favors to a few giant corporations and a few oligarchs who want to make your labor irrelevant. Like, it's not hidden. It's not a conspiracy. It's out in the open. And, you know, it's only a matter of time before people connect the dots between their electricity bill going up right now and these data centers going up all across the country and these increasing, you know, layoffs that are starting now, especially in white collar work. But also, we talked about Amazon wants to replace 600,000 of their blue collar warehouse workers. You know, that's one of the few jobs you can get now where it's like you can come out with a high school degree. It's a very difficult physical job, but you can earn, you know, $20, $25 an hour. At least it's something available to you. And they're trying to automate all of that out of existence. So it is a very dire landscape.
Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.